everybody. Welcome back to Tastemaker Talk, episode 10, where you get to chat with your food creator business besties. We are your hosts, Abbey and Chandice. I'm the CEO of Tastemaker Conference, and Chandice is the COO, and we are so excited to be with you today. Chandice, take it away with new food news.
Yes, we're excited to be here. So my new food news was that I got to try the new Oreo Coca-Cola. Have you guys tried it yet?
No, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw it in a random mart in West Virginia. I went with my friend to go see a plot of land because I live in Virginia, and we were in this tiny little mart, and we were like, is this real? Is this an actual thing? But we didn't dare try it. You tried it?
I did, and it was actually really good. At first, I couldn't quite get the Oreo flavor, but then my son was like, Mom, it's just like a hint of chocolate. And I was like, oh yeah, it is. It's kind of like a cookie sandwich. So it was good. I liked it. And then they also did like a flip-flop where Oreo came out with Coca-Cola Oreos.
Oh, that's cool.
And my husband said those are really good. So new food news, try Oreo and Coke are in everything.
Wow. Alexandria, have you tried it?
I have not. I don't normally drink. I don't love carbonation, so I don't ever drink pop. But I would be down to try the Oreo half of that equation to see what it would taste like.
Coca-Cola Oreos. So a couple other new things. The first ever Costco with apartments is officially in works.
What? I want to move there.
Yeah. Like I just got to for some groceries. Yeah. Yeah. The first
Are they Kirkland apartments?
I don't know. That would be awesome. Everything's Kirkland. That would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, too funny.
That is awesome. Starbucks debuts pecan flavored drink, which I am so excited. It says it evokes memories of the smell of freshly baked pecan pie. And that is, I would choose that any day over pumpkin pie. So I'm excited. You would choose pecan.
Is it pecan or is it pecan?
I say pecan.
I say pecan. Yeah, I had to think about it. What do you say?
I say pecan, but I really enjoy it when I hear people saying pecan pie. I think it's more of a Southern thing.
I think that's a Southern thing. And then last couple of things, the Doritos brings back the $1 million Crash the Super Bowl contest. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see all the like vintage commercials and like brands are coming back to kind of this mainstream sports arena.
Okay.
And then AMC Theaters Beetlejuice Cocktail is going viral for its $31 price tag. So
you're kidding.
What's in it?
I don't know, but the themed beverage costs more than the ticket to watch the film, someone said.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe you get like a cool like Michael Keaton Beetlejuice mug with his face on it and it's like molded. Although we were going to go see it in 40X and I want to say those tickets. Oh yeah, those are still like 25. No, the tickets might have been $30 to see it in 40X. So
yeah. It's a sandworm layer. And so it's like this blue drink with like gummy worms out of the top. It's raspberry. It's sandworm slayer. It's raspberry vodka with sour candy worms, which I feel like it doesn't even sound like all that like elevated, to be honest with you.
Sounds like a hangover waiting to happen.
Yes. So I went and saw the movie. Have you guys seen it yet?
No.
Not yet.
I won't give any spoilers. I liked it, except for one theme of the movie I just did not like. I could not get on board, but the whole rest of the movie I thought was fun. Thought it was like, but I also, my husband was saying there's of course the big dance number, and it was nothing like "Come, Mr. Taliban." You can never recreate that. So it was their own version of something new. It just wasn't what that was, but overall it was pretty good.
I have not seen the first one, so I'll need to watch that and then go. I'm like really bad at movies. I have not seen almost anything people talk about, but I'm trying to be better. So I'll have to watch the first one and then go see this one.
Well, and they're completely different. It's really, you could totally go into the second one just fine without watching the first one. We had my son watch it because he wanted to see the second one. I think a lot of younger people want to see the new one because it has the girl from Wednesday. And he watched the first one. He's like, that was weird. So he liked better.
Daphne's our resident Gen Z, and she
Yeah.
thinks the first one is wild and likes the second one better.
You liked the second one, but that's what I'm saying. Like my son liked the second one better too, right, Daph?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's what you're saying.
That was Daphne. Also, I like having Daphne like pop in every once in a while. That was a fun little Easter egg. Thanks, Daph.
I try to keep my mic off, but when I'm directly called, I will respond.
So that's it for new food news and apparently new movie news.
Yeah, we could make a whole segment. Movies that have food involved, which that could be a whole thing.
It could be a whole food blog.
It could.
I
Is anyone
who's doing it. I'm doing it for my holiday stuff. I'm doing like themed reels that have the epitome movie with the treats and the food to go with it. It's so cute. So we have Halloween coming up, and then we have some Christmas ones. So we're doing like the big, cheese pizza and the 3 scoops I'm not driving with Home Alone. We're doing so all of these will be different reels that you'll see on Holiday Food and Fun. So it'll be fun.
So Chandice is doing it. You're already on top of it. Okay, great.
Already
somebody is.
We recorded Casper already, so we're excited about that one. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you for the new food news. In terms of community updates, before we introduce our amazing guest here, we had an incredible time at Virtual Tastemaker Conference 2024. So if you weren't able to catch VTC Live, you can purchase the replays soon. But we want to make sure that you are subscribed to our newsletter to be notified when those are available, and really just any of our updates when tickets drop. We have a really great bi-weekly newsletter about creator economy updates and fun things. But we are now in full planning mode for Tastemaker 2025 in Vegas, and it's going to be incredible. We're co-locating with the Fancy Food Show, the Winter Fancy Food Show in Vegas. I think as of today, there's only 17 general admission tickets left before those are totally sold out. And we have sold out historically every single year. This is our 7th year at Tastemaker. So we're dropping a link there. If you are live or you're listening to this and you want to grab a ticket before they're sold out, there's also 13 VIP tickets as well, which give you some extra goodies. Now back to Chandice for the sponsor spotlight.
Perfect. And of course, we couldn't host Tastemaker Conference without our incredible event sponsors. So we'd love to give a shout out to one of our returning sponsors, Kasori. Kasori believes that a healthy homemade meal shouldn't be sacrificed to a busy schedule. With intuitive kitchenware, fresh tech, and a wealth of recipes and community support, anyone can cook like a pro with Kasori's range of innovative cookware products. So you can find them on Instagram at Kasori Cooks. That's Cosori Cooks, and you'll see them at Tastemaker Conference. So thank you, Kasori, for being a sponsor, and we look forward to seeing you in person in Vegas.
Woohoo! All right. Now we get to dive into our topics, and today we are discussing sales tips for getting that money, honey. So we are so happy to have Alexandria. I never know how to say your last name. Will you say your last name for us?
Yes. Oh yeah, go ahead, do it.
Drzazgowski.
Beautiful.
Did she say it right?
She did. And I actually made it harder on you guys because technically I've changed it after getting married this year, but I haven't changed it everywhere, and I just kept it the same for blogging stuff for now. So I could have made it easier on you, but I didn't. Sorry.
Wait, what is your married last name now that you took?
It's Ulmer, Ulmer. It's only 5 letters.
That's easier to say. Okay, well, we know you as the Four and Fork, and I think a lot of people do, the popular food blog that takes readers on a culinary journey around the world. Alexandria's passion for global cuisine is at the heart of her blog, where she features traditional recipes from nearly every country. Today, she joins us to share her insights on how food bloggers can effectively sell their skill sets in sales meetings and close deals, drawing from her own experience in building Four and Fork into a go-to destination for global cuisine. So welcome officially, Alexandria, to Tastemaker Talk. You have a couple of other fun things you're working on that we'd love to hear if you want to give yourself a quick intro.
Yes. Okay. So as Abby mentioned, yes, my primary blog, the one that I started my very first blogging journey with, was the Four and Fork, and that is my baby. I started the Four and Fork back in 2018, and then I've been cooking meals from around the world every week since then. So I absolutely love that. And then this year I also started a second blog called The Domestic Spoon, because sometimes I just wanted to make cookies or Mexicali dip or something that did not have a global tie. And so those easy recipes go on the domestic spoon now. And then today I'm here to talk to you because I am starting a new program called Sealed Deal School, where we talk about how to run a sales meeting like a pro. I got to talk about this a little bit at Virtual Tastemakers a couple weeks ago. And basically just a little bit about my background and why I'm qualified to be talking about this. Prior to working in food blogging, I also was a sales rep for a Fortune 500 company. And at the time, I was selling payroll services to small business owners, but the sales training that I learned there is applicable in any situation. And so I had a lot of success there. I was the fastest promoted new hire in company history, which was really crazy. And when I finally left that job to do my passion, which was the 4 and Fork full time, I used those skills to close brand deals in this industry. So I learned how to run a sales meeting there, and I've kind of tailored that technique into the food blogging industry. And now I'm excited to talk to you guys about it. And especially because we did the pricing and pitching workshop together
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. And so y'all taught me how to make a media kit and how to send a pitch email and how to follow up with the brand campaign insights and all of that stuff. And so I've had a really fun time using everything that you taught me and pairing it with my sales knowledge. And so I'm excited to talk about the sales piece of it today.
That is so exciting because that was like 3 years ago, I want to say now. And I think it's so fun about this industry, how collaborative everybody is. Be like, hey, we have these skills, we're going to share them with you. But you also taught us things there too that we now implement in our sales. With selling sponsorships for Tastemaker, I think, like you said, sales is a pretty basic skill. Like the foundations are pretty similar. It's just the pitch and context can be different. So with that, can you give us an overview, our first question here, of the ways in which food bloggers might find themselves in a sales context? Because I think we think it's only brand partnerships. And so I think it might be nice to start off with what is the breadth of the context? Like what can you be selling? And maybe talk about, how they can negotiate those sales.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good question because a lot of times I've realized when I've been kind of researching for this program that I'm launching about sales, I've been talking to food bloggers, and a lot of them have mentioned, I don't really think of myself as someone that does sales. I work with brands to do brand partnership, but I don't think about what my job is as sales. But I will say that if you, in whatever industry you're in, if you have a service that you are looking to provide to someone else, then you need to have sales skills. Even if you don't think of yourself as a salesperson, you need to have the ability to talk about your service in a way where the person that's listening is going to recognize that you have value and going to want to work with you. So obviously the way that is probably most common in the food blogging industry is working with brand partnerships, but also if you are a photographer and you want to work with another blogger to do photography for their site, if you're a virtual assistant and you want to work with bloggers, if you are a coach for a different type of program that you're running, all of those things where you have a service that you're offering and you can meet with that person and bring them on as a potential client, these are the skills that you're going to need to know in order to run those meetings.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. So I think that one of the things that people ask is, once a food blogger has secured a meeting with a brand, what are some of the key elements that they should focus on in their pitch to effectively communicate how their skill set directly meets that client's needs? I think that's something that a lot of creators wonder, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I think there's two pieces to this. So once you have the meeting and you're on the meeting with your potential client, trying to bring them on board, there's a couple ways that you can make sure to communicate your value to them. So one of them is the executive overview, and this is one step of the sale that we discussed in my virtual tastemakers talk, where you take a small opportunity. You don't want it to be a lengthy amount of time. You don't want it to be a ramble, but you spend maybe 1 minute talking through your history within the industry and some achievements and accomplishments that you've had, so that they kind of start this meeting learning a little bit more about you and going into it with the thought process that like, oh, this person really knows what she's doing. So you're gonna, there's a couple steps before this, but one way to communicate your value is within that executive overview. But I would not say that that is the most important place to communicate your value. I think what people miss sometimes is the act of asking questions to their potential client to figure out what needs they have. So your question was, how can we communicate how our skill set meets the client's needs? And in order to do that, you first have to figure out what the client's needs are. And so you take some time to ask them some questions. We can go into detail about that later, but then tie in your solution to their needs in your presentation. And I think that like flowing together of those questions into the presentation will really drive home the fact that you are the right person for the job.
Can you, I'm just going to like piggyback off of this. Can you give like a recent example of where you did that? Because I think like we have learned that the best way to understand this, like we can talk about this all day, but like, what does that look like? I think a for instance really helps.
Yes, that's a good question. So recently I was in a meeting with a client. They had like just wanted to, a potential client, they had just wanted to talk to me about doing a post on TikTok. And so they had said in their email, we want to talk to you about doing a post on TikTok. Can you send us your pricing? I asked them if they would get on a call so that we could have some time to talk about it, so that I could delve more into what their needs actually were, why they wanted to do this TikTok, et cetera. So when we got on the call, I was asking them questions about what their goals were for the campaign, what product launches they have coming up. And one of the questions that I asked them is, when we work together on this TikTok post, what are you looking for as what would make this partnership successful? And they had told me that they wanted, as many people to see the product as possible, but they also wanted some brand recognition. And so from that, I was able to discern, okay, if they want as many eyes on it as possible, TikTok is probably a great place for that. But in addition to that, if you want brand recognition, I was able to take what they told me and realize, okay, if you want brand recognition, it might be a great solution in addition to TikTok to also have a post go on my website, because TikTok, goes up on TikTok, people see it for 10 days, the algorithm falls off, and then it kind of like loses its strength after that. Whereas I was able to explain to them that if you have a blog post, it takes a while to take off, but the longevity of that is 3 to 5 years. Everyone that searches for a post is going to see your name. They're going to have more brand recognition because your name is being seen for years instead of days. And so I think that's a good example of like taking the time to learn from the client what they actually wanted and then tailoring my pitch to them. And I signed them up for a blog post and TikTok at the end of that meeting. So
that's amazing. And I think too, it's really important for our audience here, like the creators, to think like a brand. And we try to teach the brands to think like a creator and bridge those conversations, because like you have to essentially know what marketing lingo they're using and what they're looking for. And I think like understanding their KPIs for people who aren't in marketing that don't know what that is, it's your key performance indicator. And I think a lot of times understanding the KPIs that brands are looking for, because a lot of times they don't really even know, and they kind of look to the creator as the educator on it of like, well, you tell me. So, and I wanted to just call that out. You're pointing out brand awareness is a big KPI that creators can do, brand recognition. Sometimes they're looking for actual conversion on sales depending on their goals, and that can be achieved, I think, easily through affiliate marketing if you have links and things like that. But I think there's so many different things. So I think that's just something that I would add is understanding and asking them what their KPIs are, and understand the marketing language that they're using. Because a lot of times they're talking to, a big organization, and they have boards of people that have to make approvals. And I think it's just helpful to be like, hey, I speak your language and I'm going to, teach you mine. And I think that's just like a really great thing. And I think you do a really good job of that, Alexandria. So thanks for that example. So building on that, you said we're going to get a little more in detail. At VTC, you taught us about the 6 steps of the sale. So can you give us a quick overview of these steps and touch on how they help food bloggers secure fair compensation?
Yes, I will. So yes, there are 6 steps of the sale, and I'll go through each of them and then kind of give you a little, description as to what each of those are. So the first step of the sale is building rapport. So the act of getting someone to buy from you starts way before you actually start talking about your service or your offering or talking about business at all. Building rapport is the act of like making conversation with the person and getting to know them on a person to person level before you even start talking about business at all. So you are going to be way more successful as in your sales meetings if you're able to connect with your potential client on a personal aspect. So like ask them questions about their weekend, ask them questions about where they live, those kinds of things, so that you can kind of, just have some like pleasant conversation before you get into the like, business talk of sales. So that would be step 1 is building rapport. Step 2 is setting the agenda. So this is where you walk them through what the rest of the meeting is going to look like so that they have a idea in their head of how the meeting's going to go. And you have shown them that you're the one that's going to be guiding them along the path. So you're the one that has kind of like the guidance and control in that meeting. So setting the agenda would look something like, thank you so much for meeting me. Like, I would do it more effectively. But thank you so much for meeting me. What we're going to do today, I was hoping to tell you a little bit about myself, ask you some questions about your brand, your campaign, and then at the end, based off of your answers to those questions, I can walk you through some of my services that could be a good fit, give you some pricing, and then hopefully after that, we can bring you on board. Does that sound good? And that is the act of setting the agenda. So that's step 2. Step 3 is the executive overview. We already talked a little bit about that. That's like the 1-minute section where you kind of brag about yourself, tee it up in their heads that you're the one that they should be working with. Step number 4 is probing. So that's the act of asking them questions about the campaign. This is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time in this meeting because you want to make sure that they know that your focus is on how you're going to best help them. And the only way that you can best help them is to learn about what they actually need. So step 4 is probing, to ask them questions. Step 5 is using the answers to those questions in your presentation where you present your solution. So step 5 is the presentation. You kind of tie in their answers into your tailored solution that you think would be a good fit for them. And then step 6 is the close. So I think a lot of people think that sales, when they, people that haven't had experience in sales yet, they haven't had an opportunity to learn yet how to run a proper sales meeting. A lot of times when you're thinking about sales, people think that like, the presentation and the close is it. Like, how am I just going to tell them about my service, give them pricing, and then get them to sign up and get off the call? But if you do steps 1 through 4 before you get into step 5 and 6, step 5 and 6 become a lot easier and a lot less daunting because you've built value the whole way. So
I love that. I think that you're absolutely right. A lot of people who aren't familiar with, well, and I think that it does help that you have traditional sales background and you're teaching our community that. Because it is a skill set that comes in and helps creators by knowing steps 1 through 4, where a lot of people just start, like you said, at 5 and 6, and they're wondering what's going on. Why am I not having that? Well, did you connect with the person individually and personally? Did you set the executive overview? Did you lead the agenda showing them that you're a leader? So I think all of those things are so helpful. So thank you so much for sharing that. From your VTC session that Abby talked about, On Shen Lee asked this question. So we wanted to ask you, what changes did you make to how you lead your meetings and your pitch when you were closer to the beginning of your career, when you had not worked with brands yet or didn't necessarily have impressive numbers, including likes and followers? So they're just kind of wondering, is it a lot different in the beginning versus the end? Or what did you do differently when you didn't, maybe your executive overview wasn't as strong? What did you do?
Yes. Okay. That's a good question. So if you're still at the beginning of your career, there's a couple of options here. One of the options being that you can use these sales skills to work with them in a not sponsored capacity too, because if you're good at photography, no matter how many followers you have, you're still great at photography. And so you can use that to talk to them about things that don't necessarily rely on your numbers while you're building your career. So that is one thing. But if you want to work with people in a sponsored capacity while your numbers are still in the process of growing, there are always ways that you can make yourself sound impressive and not in an inflated way, like actually show that you know what you're talking about. So you can talk about, how many viewers you've had on your website over the course of your career. It doesn't have to be this month. Like you can still show that there are a lot of people that have looked at your blog that come to you for your expertise. You can also talk about examples of a campaign that you worked on that, or even a campaign for yourself. Like I have started trying this new technique and it increased engagement by 40% on even my own page. So I'd love to try that out for you. Like you can still find those stats and statistics within your own career, like experimenting on your own page, and use that to communicate to the brand that you have something to offer that they should consider.
That's so great, because I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in the numbers. I was in a room with some, very talented women, and then one of the greatest gals on Instagram who's seen the most success, we were asking her about how she deals with certain reels that don't do as well. And she goes, I don't care. And we like, oh, and she said, because if it gets 14,000 versus 270,000 views, she's all, that's still 14,000 people that sat there and watched me cook. If they were in a stadium watching me cook, boy, that would be impressive. And I thought, oh, that's a great way to everything is so competitive. Everything is so focused on numbers. But when we come back to, wow, 1,000 people watched me do that, or watched this watched you cook this thing. That's so incredible. So I like of showing the longevity and like the evergreen of the content you've created and the people who visited you. And I think early in the stages, even coming back to the repeat visitors, how many people like coming back because they can count on you, for good products. So
that's a great metric too. I love that idea.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I really like what you called out, Chandice, because I think it is easy to get caught up in numbers. And I think obviously brands have bottom lines and it's a business, but I think the best businesses and partnerships happen when they remember that there's a human behind the screen. Even if you have 10 people see it, like I love that analogy of thinking if we were to fill a room, like 10 people is a significant amount. Like each person is a human being that has a story and something to share. And I think, yeah, that makes it not feel so defeating because it's more exciting because you're like, oh, there's other people that aren't my mom that are excited to see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's great to educate the brand on that too.
Agreed. And fake the confidence till you make it. Because I know we all feel that way. Like that is not an isolated feeling where, you're, oh, am I good enough? Do I have good enough numbers to work with this brand? Everyone feels like that in some capacity. And so it's good to feel that feeling and then be brave anyway and use those tips that we have all mentioned just now to find other ways to communicate your value because you are valuable.
Well, and
I love that.
It doesn't really ever go away. I've talked to some of the biggest bloggers in the world, creators in the world, and they have said, do you have any idea the pressure to stay on top? And I'm like, wow, man, it really never does go away. So we've got to figure out early on how to be proud of our work, how to feel fulfilled in what we do. And then I think you're really great. One of your greatest skills, Alexandria, is that you are able to communicate your confidence to the brand. And they're like, yeah, we want to work with her. She's great. Do have the numbers to back it. But I feel like even if you were starting out with the domestic spoon, maybe that's your smaller blog, I feel like you'd still be able to sell that because of your confidence in what your product is.
Oh, well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. I appreciate that.
I agree. And we have a couple questions left in our agenda here for Alexandria, but for those of you who are live here, if you want to start dropping questions into the chat, because we have this expert at our disposal right now to ask questions live. So we definitely want to follow up with that. So don't be shy, introduce yourself, drop your info in the chat right now so we can follow up with those. So this question, Alexandria, is also from VTC. Eric asked, what are some key things to follow up with after the meeting when the brand has been slow to respond?
Good question. So I think one of my favorite ways to go about this is, okay, first of all, before I talk about specific like ways to follow up with the brand, I want to say that I saw this Instagram carousel the other day that this very popular creator had posted. And the caption or the title of it said, how it feels to follow up with a brand that you really want to work with. And so you're swiping through the photos and you saw she sent one email, and then it was a picture of her being like, oh, I never answered. Sent a second email, screenshot of it. Oh, they still didn't answer. What do I do? Third screenshot, fourth screenshot. She sent in this Instagram carousel, she sent 5 follow-up emails with no answer in between the first one and the 5th one, not an answer at all, thinking that she lost the deal. And on the 5th follow-up, she finally closed the deal. So if they're not answering you, give it at least 5 follow-ups. So that's one thing, is don't give up just because they haven't answered you 1 time or 2 times. Like, they could be busy, they could be looking for funds, they could be talking, and it's annoying, but sometimes people are bad at responding to their emails. So if you have to follow up 3, 4, 5 times, don't be afraid to do that, because it does work. In terms of actual key ways to get their attention if they are not answering you in your follow-ups, my favorite tip is to send them a vision board or something like that after your conversation. Kind of take into account what they were talking about and kind of the ways that they were looking for your content to work for them. And if they haven't answered your email in a while, be like, hey, I was thinking about our conversation about how you mentioned that you wanted a recipe using your rice or something. And here's some great photos that I've taken with rice before, and some photos that aren't mine, but that match the style that I think would match your website. And I've put together this vision board that shows the direction that I think this campaign could go in, and give them something to show that you are really invested in this partnership. And I've seen that kind of kick the communication back into gear if you're in a lull.
I love that. I've also seen asking, literally messaging and saying, hi, Sarah. And then asking one question, where they kind of feel worse not answering someone's email if they ask a question. So asking a question also helps. But I also love the idea of the vision board, because like you said, sometimes it takes those 5 emails. We have a brand who has worked with us every year. We love them. They're an incredible sponsor, but without fail, it's the 5 email situation every time. And it's,
oh my gosh,
because this person is so on the ball and so incredible that they're not going to respond to me until they have an answer. They're not letting me know, we're talking about it, we're figuring. They're like, you message and you initially hear back, and then it's 5 emails later and they're like, yeah, we got approval, we're ready to go. And I'm like, what? Okay.
oh my gosh. At least you know to expect that now, so it's not so stressful, I'm sure. But in the first couple of years, I'm sure that was overwhelming.
Now you're kind of like, oh, this person is just very on the ball, that they're not going to respond till they have an answer. They're not a fluff talker. They don't want to they just let you know when they have the answer. So sometimes the 5th email could be a really great thing, because they're going to get an answer for you. So, okay, we have another question, Alexandria, from Lori, who's here. Lori, thank you for dropping this. We love doing these live. So is there a typical timeline of engagement or sales cycle that you encounter with brands, or does it differ dramatically from brand to brand, is Lori's question.
It differs dramatically. I think that a way that you can really speed up the process, and you're not always going to be able to do this. So sometimes you're going to be able to take this piece of advice I'm about to give you, and sometimes it's just not going to be possible. But if you can get the decision maker on the call with you, it speeds up the process and the timeline so much. The last time I was able to get a decision maker on the call, which was a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with a brand. It's a new food product that's coming out, and I had originally talked to the marketing director, and I set up a meeting with him and asked if we were able to get the decision maker, the company owner, on the call. And so he added that person onto our chat. And by the end of the call, because the owner is the decision maker, he's the one that has final say, he decided on the call, yes, we're going to be working with you, instead of me just meeting with the marketing director and then having to wait for him to for the marketing director to then try to communicate my value to the business owner. Instead, I just asked if we could have the decision maker, and I was able to communicate my value directly to him instead of putting it in the hands of someone else to try to communicate my value. So I would say if you can get the decision maker on the call, it can be they call it in sales a one-call close, meaning you close the deal while you're on the first call with them. But if you're not able to do that and you're working with a big agency, it could take weeks or even months to close a deal. I don't know if that's a very helpful answer in terms of timeline, but it does differ dramatically. But that's my one way that you can speed it up.
I agree
I
that
think that's genius.
Yeah, getting the decision maker on the call, because no one will share your value like you will. The person listening can try to relay that to the decision maker, but only you will do it in the way that is best. So I love that.
Yeah. And like, I think there's sometimes a lot of fear of being like, am I allowed to ask this question? Am I allowed to say, hey, can the decision maker be on the call? And what is my favorite thing to say? Does anybody know?
You don't get.
There you go. It's so true though. So here we are saying that. I love that. I love that, Alexandria. In fact, I feel like that's something like, once again, like little things that we're like, oh, maybe we should do more of that too. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, use it.
Let's see, we have about 9 minutes left. So we're going to we have 2 more questions for you. So this was another one from VTC that this is selfishly for me because I didn't get to see that session live. How important are appearances in sales meetings? As a creative, I'm not sure if I'm expected to follow traditional business attire.
Okay. So I'll answer this question and start by saying, do not show up looking like a slob. Like, don't be wearing a sweatshirt, have, your hair done or down, have some makeup on, but that's like a cute sweatshirt. I didn't even know it was a sweatshirt, Chandice.
That's like a sweater.
It's a sweater. Yeah.
It's
not
a
like
knit. With stains on it.
So, I mean, I think all of our outfits is about what I would expect for a creator business relationship sales meeting. I wouldn't say that you have to show up in a full suit on camera, but you do definitely want to look like you've put some effort into your appearance and that you're professional and that you're excited for this meeting with them and excited to work with them as a professional. So don't go steaming your suit, but try to look nice.
Can I add my thoughts to this? Because I like nerd out over social psychology and how people respond and the stats behind why we respond to certain people. No, I agree with you. I think that was a great answer, especially because like work from home, like a lot of people you're going to be talking to are working from home. We don't experience a lot of people like working from an office, but they have done research showing that people who present better, who are like, even if you want to throw a blazer on, like they have shown that the more like professional or put together you are, the more people are willing to take you seriously. Like even if you don't have and that might be like a biased thing, but that's what the research says, whether you agree with it or not, or the limitations involved there. But I think that's something worth saying. Like if maybe you don't feel confident in your numbers or whatever, I think that's another way to show your, build rapport and like show that you're like, I'm serious about this. And I think sometimes too, like getting a really cute outfit on with like a blazer can make you
I'm thinking of
the badass,
I'm thinking of your purple suit from Tastemakers 2023.
The power suit.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
But yes, I was going to say the same thing. I think the most important part about clothing, as long as you're looking professional, is that clothing gives you confidence, and confidence is the thing that is going to catch their attention most, even if they don't realize it. So if putting on a great professional outfit, just like you were saying, Abby, like I'm just kind of reiterating what you're saying, but if it gives you the confidence to show up and like really speak about yourself in a very elevated and professional and excited and confident way, then that's what they're going to catch on to. So yeah, like I said, dress professionally, dress nicely. You don't have to wear a suit, but if it makes you feel confident, then I think that's great.
Dress for success.
Well, before we wrap up, we wanted to ask you if you have any other tools or resources for selling like a pro that you'd like to share with our audience.
I do. I have 2. So the first one is a freebie probing guide. So there will be, I think, a link to it in the chat where you can click on that link and sign up for my freebie probing guide, which walks you through 5 of the main types of questions that you should be asking in a sales call. It's an overarching umbrella type of question, and then ways that you can tailor that into whatever type of meeting you're going into. So sign up for that so that you can figure out what types of questions you should be asking in your calls. And then in addition to that, I also mentioned briefly at the beginning that I'm launching a new program called the Sealed Deal School to help you seal those deals. And the Sealed Deal School is a 5-week class with a classroom element to it, virtual classroom element, where we'll be talking through the 6 steps of the sale, going more into detail about them. And then the main piece of this program that I'm so excited for is the actual practice element. So you will get one-on-one time with me every week to go through and role play that step of the sale where you are you pretending to be in a professional meeting and I am pretending to be your potential client and giving you feedback on those steps of the sale as we're learning them. And then at the end, you get to put it all together, practice one big sales meeting with me, and make sure that you feel like you get all those jitters out, you get all of your ums and your stutters out before you're sitting in front of the actual brand. You can practice with me, feel confident, and then move forward, making sure that you feel like you know how to communicate your value and can be successful. So if you're interested in the Sealed Deal School, I have a waitlist form that you can fill out, which should also be in the chat, and fill that out. And if it is a good fit, regardless, I will contact you. But if it's a good fit, I'll contact you to talk about how we can get you enrolled in Sealed Deal School.
That is so exciting.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it.
I think that you've shown your value and all that you've done, especially in your professional career as, you know, in sales. So how exciting for people to be able to work with you one-on-one.
Thank you. I'm so excited about it.
And where can they find you on Instagram or TikTok? Like, where do you hang out online if they want to just follow along with you?
I'm mostly at the Foreign Fork. So foreign, like a foreign country, FOREIGN, the Foreign Fork.
And you just had a birthday, right? Yesterday?
I did. Well, I posted about it yesterday because I finally
Okay.
got my crap together to edit the
Yeah.
video, but my birthday was actually on Saturday. I was out of town. So when I came home,
Okay.
my husband had that cake made for me, and then I put a little video because I thought it
So
was
cute.
Thank
Well,
you.
happy belated birthday to you as well.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you
exciting.
so much.
So we just want to say a huge thank you to Alexandria for joining us today. Definitely take advantage of the offerings that she has. We have had the privilege of working with her over the years, and she is the real deal. We can validate and vouch for Alexandria and all that she does. And then if today's conversation was helpful for you and you want to get more of this in-person education and that sense of community and meet your other food creator besties, we would love for you to come to Tastemaker in Vegas. Again, we mentioned it. There's only a few tickets left, so Daphne's going to drop the link to that one more time if that is appealing to you and you can be there. But other than that, we will see you on, in 2 weeks from now, episode 11 of Tastemaker Talk, where Chandice and I are talking all about Q4 holiday content and all that the craziness of Q4 has involved as we approach the holiday season. So thanks again, everybody, for being here, and we'll talk to you next time.